Hey guys, I want to talk to you about the case of Darlie Routier. There's a big deal lately because the results, I guess, are coming out about the 85J. You know, the 85J has been an issue for a long time. I'm not sure, but I think it's been the basis for quite a few fundraisers too. Because if they can find out that that 85J actually belongs to somebody else, then of course it would mean that Darlie Routier was telling the truth, right? That there was an intruder the night that two of her children were murdered in what should have been the safety of their own home. June 6, 1996, little Devin and Damon Routier asked their mom and dad if they could sleep downstairs on the main floor in front of their big screen TV, which back then was probably like a 32-incher or something, I don't know. They brought their pillows and their blanket down. I think they had some popcorn too. And they watched television. Darlie couldn't remember afterwards what it was the boys were watching. But then suddenly, Darlie's kid sister wanted to be taken to her boyfriend's apartment. So Darlie's husband drove her sister to her boyfriend's apartment. And then when he got back to the house, and I'm not sure what time it was, somewhere 10, 10:30, 11, whatever time he got back, I don't know, probably somewhere around 10. I think the boys were sleeping already at that point, not sure. And Darlie said that she and her husband had words between them. Sometime around was it 1 o'clock? I think the times that they said, I think, changed a few times, but I think in her written statement that she gave to the police shortly after the murders, like 3 days after, I think, she said that her husband went upstairs at 1 o'clock without her. She said she was sleeping on the couch at that point for a week or so. She said she had a tough time sleeping upstairs in the master bedroom because she was such a light sleeper that when the baby, I think the baby was about 10 months old at the time, when he would move around in his crib in the middle of the night, that it would wake her up because, again, she said she was such a light sleeper. So she was sleeping on the sofa on the main floor family room, right? And the boys, the older boys, Devin and Damon, were sleeping on the floor within just a few feet of her. Okay? So this print is a really big deal if they can somehow match it to someone other than one of the family members. But it's sounding like, once again, they're having no luck. That's what it's sounding like. So the people who are insisting that Darlie Routier is innocent, I think we're really hoping that this print would have produced some results, right? But I don't know. I'm not that into things like fingerprints. I'm just not. I look at this case in a totally different way. I received a phone call from Darlie's best friend. It's been 4 years ago now since her friend called me. But boy, did she ever have a lot to say. And one of the things that she told me about was how Darlie admitted to her shortly after the murders that she actually did commit those crimes. Her friend told me that Darlie said she didn't know what happened, but that yes, she did it. Now think about it. If she honestly didn't know what happened, but she knew that she did it, then what does that tell us? That tells us that she had some sort of a break with reality, right? And think about it. She was on fen at the time, which was a drug that was later removed, right? It was a prescription drug, and it was later deemed to be unsafe, right? She was trying to lose weight. She had been nursing the baby and had stopped nursing, I think, a couple, maybe even 3 months before the murders. She had a terrible episode about 4 weeks before the murders when she was sitting in her bed crying, and she called her husband at work and told him to come home early. And she was writing a letter to her children. And part of the letter read, "Forgive me for what I'm about to do." Is it just me, or does anyone else think that she needed some help? And her friend who called me said that she had begged her to get some help leading up to the murders. Before the murders, she begged her to get some help, and that Darlie told her no, because she was concerned that if she went for counseling, that it wouldn't look good in a custody battle down the road. At the time, Darlie was concerned that her mother-in-law would get custody of the children. I'm not trying to stick up for someone who murdered a child, okay? Not at all. But I don't think Darlie Routier should be executed. Because, just my opinion, I think Devin and Damon Routier were actually failed by our society at the time, which evidently was such that Darlie didn't feel that she could safely reach out for help. If she's laying in her bed 4 weeks before the murders, crying and writing what sounds to be a very desperate letter, and she's calling her husband to say come home early from work, she needed help. And in the meantime, since the murders occurred, her husband has been quoted as saying that he became angry with her for how she was feeling that day. And he said that after her cycle started, then everything was fine. She was back to normal again. And he said they never talked about it again. And his reaction was probably pretty normal in that time frame in our society. And I think 1996 was actually before the pharmaceuticals invented the condition known as PMDD, right? I think that was actually like in 98 or 99, wasn't it? When their patent was expiring on one of their drugs, so all of a sudden PMDD was the newfangled condition that was on all of the commercials. I think Darlie needed help, and I think our society failed her. And like I already said, I think our society failed Devin and Damon Routier. And for that reason, I don't think she should be executed. I think her life should be spared. And I think we should try to find out the truth about what happened. Because if her friend was telling me the truth when she called me and said that Darlie admitted to her that she did it, that she didn't know what happened, but that yes, she had done it, then just think of what we can learn from Darlie if she would actually fess up and talk about what happened that night and what she does remember. Instead of investing all of these dollars into trying to test 85J, why don't we invest some time and energy and try to talk with Darlie? I don't mean us, but I mean the experts, and try to find out what the heck happened. What does she remember? What can we learn from Darlie that would be able to help other parents who are struggling? Because if we can learn more about what happened that night, then maybe we can help other children be safe in their own homes.